So, did you guys know that Rochester is actually the birthplace of Spiritism, like seances and stuff like that?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a lot of I have strong feelings about spiritism.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Why?
Most of it's all full of
Well, duh.
Yeah. I'm just not a fan of people who fake for money. Unless it's...
like porn stars.
See, I'd be in if it was like a form of entertainment, like everybody went in knowing that it was whatever. But like, that'd be kind of cool. Sit around a table and the person who's doing the thing, all of a sudden their head starts spinning and they start puking up
Like,
ectoplasm.
It's okay if everybody goes in knowing that it's fake. But that's not how most of it works. Or at least a good portion of it works, is where people believe it.
Right.
And then...
we end up with people like the Long Island Medium.
Yeah.
Which is both long and medium.
Yep, and she's also happens to be quite little.
Yeah.
So we could say.
And when she escaped prison, it was a small medium at large.
Oh no.
Yes.
Nate, you're too quick at these puns. That's awesome.
Well, you set up for that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I'm not smart like that.
All right, everybody push the button. Recording.
Oh, I've been recording for minutes now. Minutes, I tell you.
Oh, good grief. Okay.
It's Commander Time!
Welcome to Commander Time. We are yet another podcast about the Magic the Gathering format known as Commander. Commander Time will be the best threesome you'll ever hear. I'm not sure about that.
No, I think it's been proven scientifically, in fact.
It's subjective fact at this point.
Yeah.
Well, I'm Nate Burgess.
I'm Dean Goody.
And I am Patrick Spola.
Today we are talking about Dean's Marisi, Breaker of the Coil deck. It messes around with other players' creatures and other players' combats. But first...
Oh. I've been reading it as Beaker of the Coil.
Oh no. Yeah, that's what Marisi does. So maybe we should read Marisi real quick here.
Yeah, what does Marisi do?
Marisi, Breaker of the Coil, is a 5/4 legendary cat warrior for 1 red, green, white. He says your opponents can't cast spells during combat, period, not just your combat, any combat. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, goad each creature that player controls. And goad, of course, means that a goaded creature must attack during that player's next combat phase, and they can't attack you. They must attack a Fable, and they can't attack you if they have another option.
Can they attack your planeswalkers?
They can't. They must attack a player.
Oh. And what if you're the only 2 players left?
They must attack you.
Oh, well, they were probably going to do that anyway.
Probably.
Maybe they weren't. But now they have to.
Right. Just throw a wrench into the works.
So, I took the deck list that Dean provided and I compared it to the Commander's EDHREC page so we can get into more detail on the cards that you, the listener, might not have already considered. If it's already on the EDHREC page, then we probably don't need to talk about it that much. But let's see what special flavor Dean has added.
The main topic!
Yeah. So the key to Marisi is a real low curve. Small creatures that are evasive. So you want those 1/1 flyers for 1, those 1/1 things with shadow for 2, or whatever. You know, anything they can get through that people can't block.
It's like EDHREC by Master of Traps.
I took a page out of EDHREC's book when I was building the deck. I looked at all of the green evasive things that he was running and put them in this deck.
But now you have the white and red ones, too.
I know, and surprisingly,
And you had to get rid of the blue ones.
Yeah, I had to get rid of the blue ones. But there's a surprising number of red-white ones. So Shadow was a weird mechanic. Not really that weird. It was really just like another flying, I guess. Out of
super flying.
Out of, oh god, what was it out of? I don't even know. Anyway, it's an old mechanic, and it says that a creature with shadow can't block or be blocked except by another creature with shadow. And there are a fair number of them in red and in white. Interestingly
Yeah,
enough.
in white you got a bunch that say Soltari as the first word of their name. And there's also Augur Eelvek, so you got a few of those. But what's this next guy?
All right.
What's going on with this?
So so if we're looking through some, we scroll past those original ones, we've got a card called Beloved Chaplain. This little guy is a real tiny weenie, and he costs 1 and a white, and he just says that he's got protection from creatures. And of course, we learned last time that protection means that he can't be dealt damage by, enchanted or equipped by, blocked by, or targeted by creatures. And he's a 1/1.
So they can't block him.
They can't block him.
It's because everybody loves
Just
him.
like Haktos. Yeah, they love him too much to block him.
And then he hits them.
And then he hits them.
Yeah.
And then they're all goaded.
Because he's a priest.
But they still love him. This sounds like not a good lesson to be teaching children.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. I don't know. I'll keep this
Way to
deck
bring
away
it
from my
down.
kids. Yeah, so that's Beloved Chaplain. I couldn't really find anything else that was quite in the same realm as that. Everything else that has pro creatures is much more expensive. Like, and also in the wrong colors. Like the Big Tesa.
Big taste.
Yeah, the 7-mana Tesa.
Envoy of Ghosts.
Yeah, she's got pro creatures, I believe.
Mhm.
So, wrong colors, too big. Haktos, though super duper evasive, may be too expensive. I've been really trying to tune this mana curve down a little bit. But, let's go on to some the next piece of spicy spice here. Therapede is another real weird card out of the original Mirrodin block. It's a 1/1 for 3, and it says that it can't be blocked. And it also says that whenever it deals combat damage to a player, you may remove a counter from target permanent. Doesn't have to be a permanent that player controls, just any permanent.
So what do you do with that?
So that one is especially for planeswalkers. We already talked about how when a creature is goaded, it must attack another player. It can't attack another player's planeswalkers. So this deck can sometimes kind of let Super Friends decks go unchecked. Granted, their controllers will have very low life totals, but it can let them tick up and up and up. And I don't want to take time off to hit a planeswalker because I'm busy goading everybody. So this little guy hits somebody for 1 and then also takes a counter off somebody's planeswalker.
All right.
But he also ticks down +1/+1 counters or takes off a -1/-1 counter if somebody's done something to your stuff. He's very versatile. And he's an insect.
Artifact creature. So what happens if the other players, like you're trying to goad them, but what happens if they don't have any creatures?
Well, Nate,
What do you do about
glad
that?
you asked. I run stuff like Forbidden Orchard. I'll just list a bunch of stuff. I run Forbidden Orchard and Beast Within and Generous Gift and Rampage of the Clans and Mercy Killing. Bunch of stuff that turns their really good stuff into less good stuff, but still a creature that can attack.
Okay.
Yeah. So take that Elishnorn and turn it into a 3/3 beast, or, take that Ulamog and turn it into a bunch of 1/1 elves.
Wait. Ulamog is indestructible.
Mercy Killing says that player sacrifices the creature.
Oh.
Yeah, Mercy Killing. Okay, so apparently this shows up on the page, but I'm gonna let you guys in on a little secret. Mercy Killing is awesome. For 2 and a hybrid green-white, you can make somebody sacrifice a creature, and then they make a bunch of elves. I think it's equal to the CMC of the creature you just made them sack.
It's the power.
Oh, it's the power. So still a bunch of
X
elves.
is that creature's power.
Oh, so it's like kind of knocking out the bottom person that is in a trench coat.
Yes. You pull the trench coat off and reveal them for what they are. 11 1/1 elves in a trench coat.
I knew it all along, Ulamog.
Or, well, if only it did squirrels, you could make Emrakul into a bunch of squirrels, and that would be flavorful. I also have been running in the deck for quite some time, but I just took it out. Dual Nature, which is an enchantment out of way back when. And that one just says, whenever a creature enters the battlefield under anyone's control, they get a copy of it. And whenever the copy leaves the battlefield or the original leaves the battlefield, the other one also goes away. So I was trying to double up on that. But that costs 4 green, and that's a lot of mana. I also just cut Bramble Sovereign, which is 2 green for a 4/4. And that one, whenever a creature comes into play, you can pay 1 and a green to give a copy to yourself or to anybody. And just paying the extra cost was cumbersome.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a couple other ones here, though. Descent of the Dragons is a neat little trick out of Khans of Tarkir. Or, no, actually, it couldn't be. It would be Dragons of Tarkir. It says that you get to destroy any number of creatures and turn them into 4/4 flying dragons.
Do you do that to your opponent's creatures or just your own?
No, I do it to my own, to their creatures. It can be a little tricky.
And maybe yours.
Sometimes, I guess. I haven't, but I did the other day to somebody else's board of green stuff. Turned them all into flying dragons. It was a very interesting game. It can be tricky to time Descent of the Dragons. I need to have something out that has evasion that's not flying, because the dragons will block my flyers. But, if I've got something out with Shadow, I just cast Descent of the Dragons. Everything's a dragon, and I'll attack you with my unblockable Shadow guy, or my beloved Chaplain, because the dragons, they love that Chaplain.
And it's a sorcery, so you can't do it during combat. You have to set it up.
That's correct, yep. And then I've got Dawnbreak Reclaimer in here. This is another expensive one, but the long-term value might be worth it. It's a little bit of a pet / homework card. So for 6 mana, you get an Angel, and at the end of your turn, you and an opponent each choose a creature in your graveyards, and then you, the controller of Dawnbreak Reclaimer, get to choose whether or not you want to reanimate both of those creatures or not. So keep on cycling back some of those little evasive guys.
Okay. And that's like the top end of your mana curve in the deck, right?
Yeah, I don't think I have anything more expensive than 6. I've got, 3 cards that cost 6, and that's the height of my curve.
That's 2 of them.
Yep. Austere Command is the other one. Yep. That's it. Descent of the Dragons, Austere Command, and Dawnbreak Reclaimer.
All right. So when you get into combat, you've goaded all the creatures, and then it's their turn. They got to attack stuff. Do you want to help out their creatures? How do you do that?
You for sure want to help out their creatures. You want to help all the creatures, all the woodland creatures and the outer space creatures, all of them.
Now you're talking like you're a beloved Chaplain.
See, they just love me. So yeah, I run stuff like Kessig Wolf Run and Boros Charm to beef up those attackers. I also run Duelist's Heritage, or when a creature attacks, you can give it double strike. Well, when a bunch of creatures attack, you choose one to give double strike to.
These are a bunch of cards that target creatures that don't necessarily have to be yours.
Right. And if you can hear my son wailing downstairs, I truly apologize. Okay.
He has feelings about your deck building.
I guess so. And then I've also got Valorous Stance in here, which can give a creature indestructible or blow up a creature if it's got toughness 4 or greater. So if somebody's got a really large beater that I am goading them to attack with, and I don't want somebody to blow it up, I could just make it indestructible.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
So, I got questions for you.
Yeah,
Dean.
please do. Sorry, I'm mildly distracted here by the crying beneath my feet. Carry on. Question is?
So, wait. I guess we should go to the next section before we got my questions.
Maybe. Wait, is Crescendo of War under this section, Nate? Or are we not talking about that?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Where does it go? Do you want to talk about it?
We can. It's a little bit of a risky thing to run. So Crescendo of War is a real weird enchantment out of the original Commander precons for 3 and a white, so it's 4. It's a little bit expensive. During each player's turn, it gets another counter. And then all attacking creatures get +X/+O. And I think all of your blockers get +O/+X, maybe?
All of your blocking creatures that you control.
So I have had this blow back into my face before, where someone literally finished me off because of my own Crescendo of War that I couldn't get rid of. Generally, though, it's really nice to have a shadow creature that gets +10/+O when it attacks. But if people can remove your stuff, it can really go south. Which part is your question, Patrick?
No, like we should. I have a couple of notes on questions of things to add to your deck and or change.
Okay, so finish up and then get to that. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Okay. There's a few other ways that I benefit all creatures. So I'm running like Evolutionary Escalation and Orja of Advocist. Those are both in your stock list. I'm also running Curse of Predation and Curse of Stalk Prey, and those kind of incentivize my opponents to attack a particular opponent. So if somebody's like particularly threatening or scary to me, I can just say, hey, attack that guy, because you'll get +1/+1 counters.
And those are aura curses that enchant a player, and whenever a creature attacks them, it gets a +1 counter.
Yes.
And they're pretty much the same card, aren't they?
One triggers on attack and one triggers on combat damage.
Oh, okay.
Curse of Stalk Prey is cheaper, and that one triggers on combat damage.
So Curse of Predation, they'll get the counter before the damage actually happens.
Yeah, it's quite nice, that one.
Okay.
If we move on a little bit here, we can...
Yeah, what you going to do during OPC, other players' combats?
Yeah, so I'm going to basically end the turn. Mandate of Peace is a really nice card.
That's a new one.
Yeah. I think that it's underrated. I haven't heard a lot of... Have you guys seen it do stuff?
I don't think I've never seen it cast before.
Yeah, I don't think I've seen anyone but me run it, but every time I've cast it, it's been a really impactful spell. So basically, it ends the combat phase. If there's anything on the stack, it's gone. And then for the rest of the turn, my opponent can't cast spells. So basically...
all your opponents.
Yeah, basically, the player whose turn it is, their turn is just over.
And it's an instant for 2 mana, and it can fit in an Isochron Scepter.
Yeah, and since you cast it during combat, I think you can only cast it during combat. If you have Marisi out, they can't counter it. They can't do anything about it. It's happening. They are just done.
That seems fairly powerful.
Yeah, it's quite good. The people also really underestimate Marisi's your opponents can't cast spells during combat. Not just that it's your combat, all the combats, I already said that, but like there's no fogs, there's no combat tricks, there's no removal during combat, none of that. Anything that happens during combat, unless I have something to do during combat, it's just not happening. It's really good.
So if they want to deal with your stuff, they have to do it first main.
Yeah, they have to guess at what I'm going to do. Some other things that I'm running during other people's combats. I'm running Benefactor's Draft. So it untaps all creatures, and then I draw a card, and whenever a creature blocks this combat, I draw a card. I'm still testing this one. I'm not sure if I want to run this, keep this. But I do want cheap and efficient ways to draw cards for the deck, because the deck needs that pretty badly. It can get hellbent pretty quickly, and then it's hard to come back from that.
Yeah, if you're based around small creatures that are easy to cast, then you'll probably end up casting them, and then you won't have any cards left.
I probably need to add in a few Keen Sense effects, honestly. I've had really, really good luck with the ramp version of that. Nature's something. Just a single green aura. Whenever enchanted creature deals combat damage to an opponent, search up a basic land and put it into play tapped.
Yep, that
one with nature.
That's the one.
Yeah. That is a card that seems really good in this deck, actually.
Yeah. I like it a little bit better than Sword of the Animist, because I can just drop it turn 2 and, turn 1, small creature. Turn 2, drop this on that creature and attack and be at 4 lands on turn 3. It's pretty.
It also doesn't have to be your creature.
That's true too.
Yeah,
that's true too.
Since you're forcing everybody to attack, but not necessarily your creatures, you can do the things.
I do like to guarantee that the creature will be able to connect, but yes, that's true. If somebody had something that I was pretty confident wasn't going to get removed and could get through each turn, I could throw it on that. I'm also running Outmaneuver. This is a really fun card that, again, nobody runs. For X and a red, X target creatures deal their combat damage as though they weren't blocked this turn. So it's an instant, obviously. So somebody swings out with all their stuff. I drop my little benefactors draft and people block, and I say, okay, outmaneuver, you're taking the damage anyway. It's cool. It's better than trample.
So the player takes the damage from the attacked creatures, and the attacking creatures still take damage from the creatures that blocked them.
That's true, yes. Yep.
But the blocking creatures don't.
I don't believe so. No, because they deal their damage as though they were not blocked. So you can save some creatures that are blocking if you want to do that, and you can also make the blocking player, the defending player, take all that damage that they were not going to take. And speaking of blocking, I'm also running Bedlam and War Cadence. So Bedlam just straight up says creatures can't block, and then War Cadence lets you pay a cost, X and a red, and creatures can't block this turn unless their controllers pay X. So you can sort of tax them out of being able to block.
Yep. So now I got questions for you, D. Now that we are at the end of things in Dean's deck.
Okay. Let me just let the cat.
I have questions as to why.
Yes.
Yeah.
1 second.
Let's go with things not in Dean's deck, but why?
Okay. Cat, and then I'll answer questions.
All right. First question. Why not Hex Drinker? The green for the snake who get bigger and get more protection as later go on because you level him up. No Hex Drinker?
That's actually a good question. Why am I not running Hex Drinker?
I mean, he's a good boy. He a good snake. He is 1 green, and he get bigger over time, and gives you something to do with your mana late game. And he's really good at taking lightning bolts early game, or removal spells early game.
I think it takes too long to make him unblockable, though.
I mean, does that matter? Like I honestly feel like it would be a fine fit if you happen to have one. I don't exactly know how expensive he is these days, but he still seems pretty good in this kind of deck.
$7.
Yeah. So maybe if you happen to have one, you could slide him in and see how it goes.
Yeah. It's a possible homework card. All right.
And the next question is Shamanic Revelation. Seems like it would be a good draw card spell for you, considering how wide you would get with these low creatures. I mean, it won't be totally busted like when you...
What's that do, though?
That lets you draw cards equal to the number of creatures you control.
Oh, okay.
And it also has Ferocious if you have a 8 or more power, is it? 4?
Yeah, for each creature with power 4, I think. Let me see.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you gain life.
You gain some life.
Equal to you gain a bunch of life.
So if I had Marisi out, I gain some life.
Yeah. It seems like it might be better than Return of the Wild Speaker in terms of raw card draw, but you don't get the
flexibility.
+3/+3 effect, right. Yeah. Then the one thing that I feel like was kind of missing from your deck is a way to attack without getting retribution. Which I understand. I understand that goad is going to force other people to attack other things, but the last you versus the other person, you should probably have your creatures have vigilance.
Oh my god, cat. Okay. Sorry. Cat just pulled my earbud out of my ear. For the last little hurrah, usually my opponents have already beaten each other down. So the last player alive usually is at much lower life than me. So I'm usually at like 35 and they're at like 10.
Well, and I guess you're unblockable, so I guess that's okay. But also, I just remembered the real last card that I know for a fact that this is a card you love.
Okay.
And it's not in there.
Uh-oh.
Slaughter the Strong.
Oh, I do love that card. I love that card so much.
And you have all of these 1/1s.
Yeah, just to keep it in my back pocket for the end of the game. Yeah.
So Slaughter the Strong is 1 white, and everybody sacrifices creatures up to power 4.
Right. You choose any number of creatures.
You choose,
total power 4 or less.
Yep. And you sacrifice the rest.
Yeah. Yeah. So I have considered it, and it's still a consideration. I actually ordered 8 of these in foil because they were $1. So I do really like the card. Definitely something that I've thought about. It's still a possibility for the deck. We'll see. If the curve keeps on going down the way it has been, I may end up cutting a land or two. I'm currently at 34 lands, but I could see it going down to 32.
Ah. Oh.
Okay.
You're starting to think like it's a rats deck or a Postle's deck.
I mean, my curve is pretty low. My curve is 2.5 right now. So if I could get it down a little bit lower, I might just do that. I'm considering cutting Urabrask for Kinjali's Sunwing, which would bring the curve down considerably. Well, not considerably, but it would bring the curve down. So yeah, if I do some more tweaks like that, I could see myself adding in a few more tricks. We'll see.
Yeah, I'm just surprised you don't have Miri Weatherlight Duelist in here.
Yep, also seems pretty good here.
You have Selvala Explorer Returned, which is the same mana cost.
Yeah, I actually haven't had a copy of Miri Weatherlight Duelist. I do now because I bought the Secret Lair. But I don't know. She's not actually evasive per se. I mean, for other creatures she is, but if she gets blocked, then that's kind of the end of it. I don't know.
Okay.
I would try her in the deck, I suppose.
All right.
Yeah.
And so we learn that Dean has much to learn about deck building.
So much to learn. So much to learn. Tell that to my opponents when they're all like, okay, so we've got to kill Dean because he's just making us attack each other. They see right through my ploy. I try to be friendly and say, hey, Weston, look at what Danny did to you. He just attacked you with 13 vampires. And Weston just isn't having it.
What a jerk.
Weston is
but what about Easton?
Also not having it. None of them are having it. I can't get through to them.
Northton and Southton. They just don't listen to Dean.
It's a shame.
There's also Kate Upton. And Downton Abbey.
Yeah. Some say you have to go Upton to go Downton.
All right, I'm stopping.
Nate, did you have any other... Oh, you're just going to stop the thing. Okay.
Visit us at patreon.com/commandertime.
You can find me on Twitter at Grubfellow, where I tweet using the hashtag DailyEDH every day.
At Detective Yarmits.
At Mr. Plorg.